Hello everyone and welcome back. I am Lily, this is Lilikoi Hawaii, and if you think way back to a video that I made over a year ago, you will remember that I discussed whether or not doing yoga was safe or effective. And the basic conclusion was, unless you want to just go watch that video right now, but the basic conclusion is that yoga is wonderful for health, but the current way that yoga is practiced and glorified here in our current society is honestly quite detrimental to the future physical health of the people who are practicing yoga in this way. And by that I mean the extreme back bends, the extreme hip opening, the unbalanced flexibility that's being promoted in this type of yoga practice. Since I made that video, I have been asked many times to do or to provide some sort of easy yoga tutorial that demonstrates the basic practices that would be good for your health without posing any threat to your joints. Now, as with any exercise program, you have to do it responsibly, and there's always a little bit of risk involved, so you really have to listen to your body. That said, I have put together a short yoga routine that will take you through the basic movements of yoga that are so beneficial to the health of our connective tissues and soft tissues and joints and bones. And those basic movements are forward bending, back bending, side bending, and twists. A lot of you who already do yoga might watch this video and find it profoundly boring. But let's not forget that profound boredom was a big part of the spiritual journey of yoga when yoga hadn't been completely bastardized by us. You learn when you're bored. Outward boredom is what allows you to deeply reflect inside when you do this type of practice, and to truly learn what it means to be present in your body without the acrobatics. If you want to get more fancy with your yoga practice, by all means, do it. Do it wisely, but do it. But for those of us who are mostly interested in just aging really healthfully and preserving range of motion and taking really good care of our joints and keeping connective tissue fluid and loose, this really basic practice is all you need to do. You don't have to go into the crazy acrobatic stuff. So I will stop with my gabbing now and we'll just get to the yoga. If you appreciate what this video has to offer, I would appreciate a like in return, and consider subscribing if you'd like to stay up to date with my videos. To do so, you'll probably have to ding the bell and click the little box so that you'll actually be told, "Thanks, YouTube algorithm." And comments, questions, requests, all go down below in the comments section. Let's get to it. So as we get started, I'm just going to stand on the mat, taking a few deep breaths, getting myself centered and grounded. A couple more deep breaths. And then I move to the front of the mat. Feet hip width apart, toes pointing forward, deep breath in, arms come up. Very slightly opening the front body. No need to have a big back bend here. Shoulders melt away from the ears, and exhale, hinge at the hips, deep bend in the knees. Allowing the spine to just drape over the legs. Shift back and forth, make any changes you need to get comfortable, and then I just support my upper body by putting my hands up on that bolster so that there's no strain on my back. And I'm coming to one side and spreading open my ribs on the opposite side. Really gentle stretch. Still notice that nice deep bend in my knees. Then I come halfway up on an inhale, straighten the back. Exhale, fold back down. Then on the inhale, I tuck my tailbone and slowly stack one vertebra at a time. going up the entire back. Last thing to balance is my cranium. Inhale, arms come up, shoulders melt away from the ears, slight back bend. Exhale, hands to center. And then inhale, start the process again. Fold forward, nice deep bend in the knees. Take my feet hips width apart. Plant my hands and then take a step back, coming into plank pose. So hands will be about shoulder width apart, and you want your hands to be really engaged. So spread your fingers, not too wide, but spread them, and press evenly through the palms and the fingers. Make sure your hips are in line with the rest of your body. Pull that core in, and exhale. Elbows stay tucked in, you lower yourself all the way down. Bring hands underneath the shoulders, and then keeping my butt loose, I'm just going to bring up my chest using purely my back muscles. And see, I'm going to hover my hands off of the ground there. Just proving to you that I am holding myself up with my back muscles. Exhale, release, and then slowly press myself back, staying on the knees, coming into a nice child's pose. I'm just going to stay here as long as it feels good. And then I'll slowly press myself back up, coming into a tabletop position. So knees are under the hips, hands are under the shoulders. And I like to do this on an inhale. I drop my belly towards the ground. We're not looking for a huge back bend, especially not in the lower back. Then exhale, press the back up towards the ceiling. Inhale, stomach drops. Sit bones spread back behind you and collarbones stay really nice and wide. And notice that the crown of the head stretches towards the ceiling. We're not going to drop our heads back in a crazy neck bend. And exhale, round the back towards the ceiling. Inhale, opening the chest forward. Imagine you're shining a light out of your chest. Exhale, curling the spine, pressing it up towards the ceiling. And then just return back to center slowly. I'm going to move one of my hands more towards the center underneath my chest and trace the opposite arm up the arm across the chest and raise it towards the sky. Nice gentle twist in the spine. When I'm doing twists like this, I like to bring my hand to the sacrum just to check in and make sure that my hips are still even and not a part of the twist. They want to be staying still. And then trace the arm back and loop it under, bringing your shoulder to the mat. This can be a little bit tender on some people's necks if they have sore necks, so just make sure that your head is nice and relaxed, and if this doesn't feel good, no need to do it. I just hang out here enjoying the stretch for a while. And when I'm ready to come up, I'll just press into that hand that is still grounded on the mat. Untwist and come up the opposite way one more time. Bring the hand down, replace that hand in the center, tracing up and across the chest with the opposite arm, extending it up towards the ceiling. It's really easy for the shoulders to get super tight in this, so just be aware. And then bringing opposite shoulder to the mat. Nice twist. Take some deep breaths here and let that twist really massage your organs. Get the tension out of your back and ribs. There's just a really sweet, simple enjoyment in this type of pose that I feel like is kind of eclipsed nowadays in yoga by the super fancy poses.
And then pressing up with that arm. Again, opening to twist one more time. And bringing the hand back down to the mat. And I'm going to go back into some more cat-cows, only this time I'm going to incorporate a bit more of a movement. So as I inhale, I'm going to sit back with a little bit of a bend in my back. And as I exhale, curling the back towards the ceiling and floating forward over the hands. Inhale, sitting back, arch to the spine. Exhale, curving the back and floating upwards. You just do this with your breath following along. It's a very simple movement. Hard to mess up, but fantastic for the health of the spine. I'm spreading my knees nice and wide, toes come together, and I'm pressing back, opening my hips into a wide-angled child's pose. If you're pretty tight in the hips, you can bring a bolster or a blanket or a pillow underneath your torso to help prop you up a little bit. Again, you want this to feel really comfortable, not like it's a strain. And then slowly on an inhale, you start to press yourself up. Bring the knees back together. And I'm just going to step forward, going through a little lunge and coming back to a forward fold. Nice bent knees still. My hamstrings have just never been loose enough to let me do a forward fold without either compromising my back or bending my knees. So I always choose to bend my knees. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, folding down again. And then inhale, nice strong back and legs. Coming all the way up. Palms join. Move back through center on the exhale. Get yourself recentered and regrounded. And on the inhale, arms go up. Exhale, folding forward, hinging at the hips. Still slight bend in the knees. And stepping back into plank pose. You can hold that as long as feels good and challenging. It's a great way to build heat. And then coming down. And I'm going to press up strongly, bring my thighs down to the mat, and support my weight with my arms. You'll watch my shoulders get nice and engaged there. There you go. Collarbones are really wide, shoulders giving the neck lots of room. Exhale, slowly release yourself down to the mat. Tuck the toes. I use my knees to help me pop my hips up into downward facing dog. Now this is another one of those poses where I'm never going to get straight legs because I have tight hamstrings, because I run and ride bikes and do all this kind of stuff, and that's totally fine. I do not mind bending my knees and having my heels off the ground a little bit. What's most important is that I have a nice long spine that's not bent or kinked or otherwise uncomfortable. It's just walking out the legs, getting comfy. See, my shoulders are wide and engaged. Shoulders far away from the ears. The weight is evenly distributed in my hands. You'll see my fingers are nice and wide. Then I'm going to step one foot towards the center and raise the opposite leg into the sky. And then slowly bring the leg forward, planting the foot between the hands. Opposite knee comes down onto the mat. I'm going to press up into an easy low lunge. I'm going to take a few minutes just to enjoy the opening on the front of my hip there, while also staying really strong through my other leg and my core. And then coming into a really slight twist. So twisting the torso towards the front leg. Nothing big about this. Nothing super impressive. Just another light twist for the organs and the spine. And then bringing the hands back to the mat. Take my time. Bring up that knee, step back into plank pose, and then lower myself back down, releasing thighs onto the mat, pressing up again once more through cobra pose. And again, notice that I'm not dropping my head back and getting a huge bend in my neck. And I'll press back, coming again into downward facing dog, walking out the legs, helping them release a little bit. And raising the opposite leg into the air, hips stay nice and even. And then floating that leg forward, planting the foot between the hands, dropping the back knee, and then coming into a nice, easy, low lunge. And of course, I unfortunately forgot to do the twist on the opposite side, which is something you would normally want to do. But hey, I'm not going to beat myself up about it. Bringing hands back onto the mat. Lifting up that back knee. Anytime, Lily. Anytime. Wow, this must feel really good. Come on. Lift up the knee. What is she doing? Oh, God. This is embarrassing. This was embarrassing 15 seconds ago. Seriously. Okay, there she goes. And step back, plank pose. Lowering down. Release thighs onto the mat, press up, nice wide shoulders, lots of space for the neck. Crown goes towards the ceiling, hands are engaged. And then now I'm going to be all fancy and press straight back into downward facing dog. But you use your knees if that feels better. And looking forward, stepping forward. Releasing into a forward bend with the knees still bent, always bent for me. Halfway lift, supporting yourself with the shins, and releasing down again. Inhale, strong back, strong legs, all the way up. Coming back to center, getting regrounded, recentered. Taking a couple deep breaths. And inhale, arms go up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, fold, plant the hands. And I'm going to be fancy and jump back into plank pose, but you can step back, that's just fine too. Inhale, upward facing dog now. You can see my thighs are floating. And exhale, pressing back into down dog. I'm going to hang out here for a couple of breaths, let the heat build. I'm starting to get nice and warmed up, so my legs are a little bit straighter. Then that leg comes up, and this time I'm going to stack the hips, bring the leg nice far up, and then bend my knee and get a really good opening through the front body. Straighten the leg, bring the hips back into line, and step forward. Now we're going to leave the back knee off the ground this time, come into a nice high lunge, build a little bit more heat. A little bit more strength. Slight back bend there, and then I'm going to reach behind me, clasp my hands together, and pull to really open the chest. You'll see that I'm not letting my head drop back. I'm keeping the crown going towards the ceiling, nice long neck in all directions. And then bringing the hands back to the mat. I'm going to step that foot back, keep it elevated, go through a chaturanga, upward facing dog, and press back, down dog. Again, using whatever variations feel necessary or good to you. Bringing up that leg, opening the hip, bending the knee, getting a nice opening through the front of the hip, through the psoas. Keeping in mind though that the shoulders stay even. Closing the hips, stepping that leg forward. Nice high lunge. Inhale. Slight back bend. Clasping the hands behind my back. If you can't quite make this clasp, you can use like a belt or a kitchen towel, anything that will give some space between your arms. And releasing back down to the mat. Step the leg back. Then we go through chaturanga, upward facing dog. And back into down dog. Again, walking out the legs whenever it feels good. Little hop to the front of the mat. Nice forward fold, still bending the knees. And inhale, strong back, strong legs, all the way to the top. Hands going through the center. And I'm going to take a nice wide stance. Notice that my feet are pointing forward and hands on the hips. I'm hinging at the hips. My back is staying totally straight and I'm only going down as far as I can keep my back straight. At that point, I release my hands onto that bolster that's in front of me so I can keep my back straight. See, my hamstrings are letting up a little bit, so I get to sink down just slightly more. There's a really small micro bend in my legs. And then opening up the chest to one side, getting a nice twist through the spine. Shoulders stay away from the ears. I like to wrap my arm around my back and put it on the inside of my other leg. You don't have to do that. Another option is to place your hand on your sacrum to check in and make sure that your hips aren't twisting too. You just want the twist in your spine. And then I come, and this twist can be a little bit sensitive on some people's spines, so if it doesn't feel good, by all means, don't do it. Not necessary at all. Hands come back, and I switch sides. Tracing the hand up the arm and across the chest to open to one side. And reaching around. Getting a really nice twist through the spine. Shoulders are far away from the ears, giving the neck plenty of room. Those hips are pretty darn stable. Reaching around to the outside of that leg now, coming into a different twist. Again, skip it if it doesn't feel good. And then this is my favorite. I'm just going to reach out. My knees are going to bend slightly. I'm going to pivot my heels in towards my butt. Knees bend out over the toes, and I'm just tractioning with my hips, pulling my spine nice and long. And then coming up into a short goddess pose. You can stay as long as you want. This is a really great heat builder as well. But I don't want to, so I'm just going to come to center. And then I grabbed this dish towel, just a plain old dish towel from the kitchen. I'm going to spin it a couple times. You can do this with a belt or a yoga strap as well. Just bring it up and then back behind your head. The grip on the towel can be as wide as you need it to be. And then bring it all the way back until the towel hits your sacrum. And then bring it back over, noticing any spots that are particularly tight for you. Taking some deep breaths into those spots, always bringing your grasp wider if it needs to be. And back and forth. This exercise is really, really good for preserving range of motion as we get older. If you do this every day, I will guarantee you will never get frozen shoulder syndrome. And here I'm just gonna stretch my neck a little bit, side to side. I don't like doing any funky, crazy moves with my neck because my neck has a lot of scar tissue in it and it's prone to subluxations, so I'm always really gentle with my neck. And then reaching back behind, squeezing my elbows towards each other, which helps to squeeze the shoulder blades together and taking a really gentle forward bend, nice bent knees, and letting those arms fall backwards. Nice and slow back up. And a couple more times with the towel. Just getting my shoulders nice and open. Oh, that's a little tight. Oh, happens to the best of us. Oh yes, I finally get some expression on my resting bitch face. Oh, yoga. And now I'm going to come down onto my back, knees bent. Some people get kind of really excited about bringing their heels towards their butt. You don't have to. Just press your hips off the mat. Notice that my shoulders are really far away from my ears, so I have a nice long neck. And then slowly lay down one vertebra at a time, bringing the sacrum to the ground last. And inhale, we're going to press up again. Nice and slow, not going for any big back bending shape. And exhale, laying down the spine one vertebra at a time. One more time, inhale, hips come up. Exhale, lowering down one vertebra at a time. And this time, when I pick my hips up, I'm just going to float them over to one side, 3 to 6 inches, and then extend that leg that's in the middle. I'm going to bring the knee into my chest, and then pull it over to the opposite side, getting a really nice twist going. I'm just going to hang out here for a couple of breaths. You can definitely turn your neck to the opposite side if you want to extend the twist through your cervical spine, but you certainly don't have to. And then coming back to center, pressing the hips up, shifting them back to center, and then I'm going to release my sacroiliac joint a little bit by doing some windshield wipers and then bringing my knees into my chest and rocking back and forth. Nice squeeze and massage there. And then release the legs down, pick up the hips, swing them to the opposite side, lay the middle leg down, show you that from another angle. Bring the knee into the chest. Oh, it feels so nice. And then drop it to the opposite side. Again, you can turn your neck to the opposite direction to extend the twist, if that feels good to you. And you just stay as long as it feels good. It's smart to do it about an even number of breaths on each side, but you don't have to get obsessed about it by any means. And then bring hips into the chest one more time. Struggle to avoid doggy kisses. And I just rock back and forth, giving myself a little bit of a back massage. Letting that SI joint open up. Nice squeeze. And then taking a nice big stretch, making my body as long as possible. And relaxing in for Shavasana, or corpse pose. Although I heard this pose named once. It's called Lying in the Lap of Mother Earth, and I liked that one a lot better. So ideally in Shavasana, you want to relax and be undisturbed and unmoving, and this allows your nervous system to kind of reset itself and integrate the work that you've done during your yoga practice. But As Petunia's illustrating here, that just doesn't happen all the time. So instead of getting all worked up and anxious about the fact that I'm not relaxing right, I'm just going to relax through it and work with it. So when you're done with your Shavasana, after 5 to 10 minutes, just roll onto your right side, and that will allow your blood pressure to begin returning to normal after laying on your back for so long. And when you're ready to get up, you press yourself up using your arms. Go nice and slow. And then bring yourself into a nice seated position. I like to take a few breaths here, just relax. Let myself come back into the real world. And then I am ready to go about my day with a more flexible body and calm mind. Thank you all so much for watching. Like, subscribe, you know the deal. Thank you, and I will see you all soon.